To get started on the trestles, I am going to surface plane all the faces first. It's just a good idea to do that because when your hands are moving over the trestles as you start working on them, they'll feel smoother, they'll feel more comfortable and things like that. I'm just using dimension wood. This is the kind of construction wood you would be able to buy just about anywhere, and that's why I want to surface plane them, because they're not very smooth. I've got all of my pieces cut to length, and I'm going to work on the floor down here because I don't have a bench, I don't have anything else to work on. I've got a couple of stools here to work from, got my tools ready. One thing I need is a long piece of wood. I'm going to butt this against the wall down here. I'm going to take each individual piece and butt it up against there, and then take a plane and surface plane the pieces. So I'm just taking out the undulations because on dimension wood it's never usually very smooth. So try and work evenly across the surface until you've taken out the marks. And you can consider your pieces, because this is a foot, so this is going to go on the floor. So I might not take as much off one side as the other. When you come to the edges, it's the same. This one has got the comfort edge that goes with construction wood sometimes, but even so I'm going to change that and make a chamfer because it looks neater. And when you've done that, you do that to each piece. Just trim them all up like this. You shouldn't need anything more than that. You can mark the pieces if you want to, which I might do because that'll remind me that this is a post and that the one I just did is a foot. That was surprisingly nice for a dimension wood, or construction wood should I say. If you've got a scrub plane like I have, like this one is particularly rough, just go ahead and use that, and that will probably be good enough Let me go this way. I was going against the grain then, you could hear it. That's better. So you can take that off, and you could actually do all your chamfers with just a scrub plane if you wanted to. It's usually quicker. But don't sweat it too much, and we may have to do a little bit more planing after, because when we do the butt joints inside the plywood, they may not be level. So you can see that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now I've got the rest to do. In preparation for the assembly, I've got plywood gussets on here, and I want to cut those now and then they're ready. So I'm going to rip them. Now the best saw for this is probably going to be a crosscut saw if you've got one, a handsaw, crosscut handsaw, because most of the grain is either rip or crosscut, but we're cutting some at a tangent too. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to show you how we lay out first. I'm going to measure 9 inches in from this side, like this, and 9 inches from this side. I just happen to have this piece of plywood. Is really a nice piece of plywood. This is what we call 9-ply. It's 1/2 inch thick, but you could go with 5-ply and it would work fine. So I've got my finger on this edge here as a guide that's stopping it, and I use the same finger setting to go from this side, like that. And I can get most of this. If this is square, you really want to check that this is square, which it may not be. You just come across here. That gets 4 of these done. So that gives me 2, 4, 6, 8, and I can get the extra ones in there. So I'm going to leave the thickness of a saw kerf and then go 9 inches from there. And I'm just going to square this cut here. Same from this side. So I'm adding about a 1/16 there for the saw kerf. This doesn't need to be anywhere near exact. And then of course we just draw corner to corner because they're 45-degree angles. So if you go corner to corner and then saw down split the line if you like, with your saw cut, you'll come close to size. This is not exact. It doesn't need to be exact sizing, and you can plane them to size if you want to, but this is, after all, saw trestles. So there we go. That's how we lay out the triangular gussets. So I'm going to cut these next. And then I'll have all my wood prepared for assembly. Cutting the plywood, I've worked out a sequence of cut that I think will work well for everybody, because if you cut the single square and then try splitting it down the middle, you don't really have much to hold on to. You've not got a workbench, you don't have a vise to clamp it into, and I think this one will work fine. I'm using a crosscut saw. I hope you've got one, and I'm just oiling the side of the plate because there is a build-up of friction when you're cutting plywood, because the fibres are going off in many directions. Cut the diagonal first and just split the line as best you can. First one. That's my 12 pieces cut. Now I'm going to plane them all, get them ready for assembly. I've just got my breath back after the sawing, and now I'm ready to plane these edges. I want to plane them, I want to take the arris off them, and there is a grain direction in the wood. My wood is going in this direction. I want to plane down here. If I plane the other way, the outer edge will be fractured. It won't be smooth and crisp. So I'm going to do that. I've just got a couple of pieces of silicone shelf liner that you would use in the kitchen cabinet to put your mugs on. Just a number 4 plane. Go down the edge like this. Brace whatever you can, and remember, work safely. I'm not in your house, and you have to feel like what you're doing is safe. I'm taking the arises off there, and then these edges here, the silicone liner does stop most of the slippage, but not all of it. So, but I'm trying to make this as real as possible. Well, there's number 1 done. So I'm going to do the rest, and I'll be back with you when I've done that. I want to show you how I laid out the positions for the holes that I've got to drill. These screw the gusset to the framework that we're creating. So here, here, here and here. And there are 2 types we've got to do. So I'm going to do one type first. So I'm going to do the one that would make this top corner. So I need 4 of those. So I'm going to come in from this edge, 1 1/4 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/4, and then the same. That crosses that first one into the second one and into the third one. So I'm going to drill holes here, here, and here. You can lay them out if you want to, but this will be accurate enough. So I'm going to set those 4 aside, ready to drill them. And then this one is different. This one I'm going to use a square to take a line from that midpoint on this. That's going to give me the center of the lower rail here. Let me see. It's going to give me the center of the lower rail here and the center of the post to the foot position. So you don't really need to put as black a line on that, but somewhere coming in about 1.5 inches from the end, and then split this here, and we're going to come again 1 1/4 in from this point here to here and to here, and then just eyeball this for equality there. And we're ready to drill. So we drill through those, and we can drill through 2 or 3 at the same time. I've got my 4 here. I'm going to drill those, and I just simply position these with the outside edges level with one another. So if there's any variation, it comes to the inside. And I'm going to drill through the first 1 or 2. Now it's at this point you might get some slippage, so be careful. I'm not going all the way through into the stool. Correct the slippage. Like that. Take the first couple away, drill through the remainder. And I do the same on the other one. And then all I have to do from there is countersink them. So here again, I'm taking 3 or 4. I'm going to take 4 because there's 8 to do. Then I can stack them up, and I'm getting registration in the adjacent ones as I move down. I'm getting those pinnacles level. Slide up. This time I'm going to take 2 more and put them right under here. This just speeds up the process. Take those 2 away, bring 2 more in, and we are pretty close to done and dusted with this. This is the boring bit. Oh, I didn't say that. So when I'm doing this, I'm thinking temporary workstation, alternative applications for it. There are so many ways you can use these. I've used them as dining tables. I've used them for old picnic tables. All manner of things. They're wonderful. I'm going to countersink now. This is to take the head of the screw so they don't stick out. Again, it's comfort, but these countersinks also seat the head of the screw against the angle of the countersink. It gives it better purchase. We're nearly there, and we're almost ready for assembling this piece of equipment, which is the very fun bit. You can countersink both sides if you want to. Sometimes I'll do that. Then if you have a left and right-handed one, you can flip over and have it either way. These are not left-handed and right-handed, but the others might be. And we're close now. I don't know how many of these trestles I've made over the years. I've made them so often. When I left America, I had to leave them there. They are great. And that's, now we're ready for assembly. The exciting bit, seeing whether I got it right.